Welcome to the Soulish Podcast, and thank you so much for being here. My name is Whitney Apke, and I'm your host. On the Soulish Podcast, we explore our soul in order to deeply connect with ourselves and others, and I get to share my experiences and thoughts as well as bring on guests who are thought leaders and truth seekers. It's my desire to uplift, encourage, and inspire you guys in each episode, and I hope I do a good job at that. So for this episode, I also want to say thank you so much to everyone who is a regular listener. And even if you are joining in today, thank you so much for listening. I'm just so dang grateful for this community and in building this community. I'm so grateful for each and every one of you and the feedback that I get. I really just feel all the love and all the support. And I'm so happy that in me supporting you guys, I'm also receiving it back. And that's just the greatest gift of all. I want to remind you guys to go ahead and rate and review because that will help the podcast to expand its audience and will really help get the message out. And I truly believe this is such an amazing resource. Not only do I get to share my heart with you guys and my experiences and any little nuggets of wisdom that I've gained over the years, but I get to bring on guests who are just amazing, amazing thought leaders, truth seekers. I mean, gosh, they're just out there doing it and doing their work. And a lot of them are also offering so many amazing services of healing and of helping us connect and helping us expand. And I want to have more guests on. And by you rating and reviewing, just taking a moment to do 5 stars, give me a little shout out. I read them all, and I'm so grateful to hear the feedback as well as on social media. And it would just really help the podcast grow as well. And I need your guys' help with that. And so I just thank you for the beautiful community that we're building. Gosh, this podcast is not even a year old yet. So I feel super honored and privileged to be a part of it, to have had the inspiration. And I know there's a lot of podcasts out there, but this really was an inspired idea and an inspired moment that I just felt really like there's a huge purpose for this podcast. And so I'm not just out here trying to do a podcast to do a podcast. I really do feel that this podcast is going to be a light to the world, and I need your guys' help with that. We're a community. We're in this together, and so I just wanted to give you a little some. Thank you so much. Also, what's really cool is I have started a Patreon page, and this Patreon page has 3 tiers that you can invest in. My favorite one, and the one that I think is most cool and such a great value for what you give, which is $20. So the maximum that you would ever give, unless you want to donate more, which thank you very much for your support. And you get weekly spiritual practices and self-care rituals. You get monthly live workshops with me and other guests. You also get to sit in on live guest interviews and join in on an exclusive Q&A. So dang cool. So excited to be offering this to you guys. And so that's really cool because it's all Patreon exclusive. So I would love for you guys to go and sign up. The link is in the show notes for signing up for the Patreon page. And it really is just such an added value to your spiritual journey, your soul journey. It's going to really support you and give you just an extra added boost in your spiritual walk and exploring new things and having new practices. And it's just a really great way to also have an even more exclusive community of people that you can chat with and connect with and know that you're not alone in your journey if that's what you're looking for, which I know I am always looking for a good community of people. And that's why I started the Soulish Podcast and why I started the Instagram was because I really wanted to find you guys. And I'm so happy that I found you. So anyway, I just wanted to let you guys know that's available to you. And I'm so grateful for your support as well. That's what helps keep the podcast going. And all the services that you get on top of that is just so amazing. So today I wanted to dive into the topic of the transition that I just went through. For those of you who are on the Soulish Podcast Instagram, you guys would know and have been getting a heads up that I've moved from California to Colorado. And I put a little shout out on Instagram of, hey, what will you guys want to dive into for this week's solo episode with moi? And you guys really did a loud shout out that you wanted to talk about transition, life transition, following your purpose, taking that risk, and all the stuff, the issueness that comes along with that. And so I wanted to just basically open up my heart to you guys and just let it all hang out. But I wanted to share with you the pitfalls and then also the things that I know that I did right. Because I think that's so important to not just hear about like, avoid this, avoid that, but it's also good to know, how did she do that? How did she hear her gut? How did she hear her intuition? And what was she looking for along the way as far as like getting confirmation from your guides, from friends that you can trust? And so I definitely want to divulge it all to you. So I think, gosh, it must have been 2 years ago, back in 2018. I had seen myself in a different way. I had been meditating and I was in a relationship and I just was kind of feeling like ultimately in every area of my life, I wasn't really going anywhere. I felt like I was kind of running in place and that there was no forward or backward movement. And I knew that I also wanted to deepen my relationship with God, the universe source. I wanted to expand my awareness and expand my knowledge. And I just was kind of feeling super, not stuck, but just over it, over just coming home, watching TV, making dinner. I just was over of the routine of my life right then because it pretty much had no variances other than working and coming home, making dinner. And that was kind of it. And so I just really was like, I just am tired of living this way. And I really want something impactful. And I think I've always felt that way. You guys have known from previous episodes that I've always felt a real pull to help people in some way, fashion or form. I've always felt that urge and that call, like this is ultimately my purpose. And I had been doing spiritual coaching on the side. I'd done that since I was in church with church ministry with friends or friends of friends. I would have people connect me with different people, even coworkers, to help them through suicidal thoughts and depression and breakups and all sorts of stuff. And so I really just kind of found myself in a place where I was attracting something that felt right. Every time that I had helped somebody work through their shit and work through the trauma or work through something that was a super huge challenge, hindrance, and block in their life, just like this mountain that they couldn't get past. And I was able to work with them through that. And that felt so in alignment, like I just couldn't shake it. So I just knew there's something here because you don't feel this way and it not be like the way you should be living your life. So even though I worked full time, and still work full time for my job and transitioning and building this business and this podcast and community, I decided, you know what? I'm just going to go to God. I'm just going to meditate. I'm just going to clear it out, clear all the noises, all the, me basically yelling at myself for not having my act together, for like being in this place in my life. And yet I'm in my 30s at this point, early 30s, and just feeling like, well, fuck. Like, look where I am. Like, I'm not where I want to be. I'm not where I dreamed I would be. And I'm not living it. I'm not living that dream. I'm not living what I love. I'm not living the way that I feel like I was meant to live. And because there's nothing wrong with working and having that routine, that daily life, that for a lot of people is their routine and is where they are meant to be in their journey. I just was feeling like I'm not hitting it right now and I need to be hitting it. And I need to figure out what that is and where I should be and what I should be doing. And I didn't really care. I didn't really have an idea that it would be a side business. I just knew I need to find my place. So because I didn't know what that was and I didn't know what it would look like, I just knew it would be something different. I basically went onto my meditation mat and just sat there and just kind of welcomed whatever that is to come into my soul, to come into my spirit, to illuminate itself in my mind, and for me to have that confirmed with how I felt about what I was seeing. And I immediately saw a vision of me being somewhere different. And it definitely wasn't California, but it had mountains and it had woods at the time. And so I was like, okay, just somewhere in nature, like maybe I start a retreat center. I was like going everywhere with that. And I saw a glimpse of it. I saw myself. I saw how happy and fulfilled I was. I saw how healthy I was too, that my body had come more into alignment, more into health and wholeness. And I wanted it so bad. I started just bawling my eyes out. Like, I didn't see who I was with. I didn't see what I had in life. I just saw how I felt about the life that I was living in that vision. And I immediately wanted it. So I started asking the universe to direct me. What does this look like? What am I doing? Who am I with? Am I with anybody? Am I married? Do I have kids at this point? Do I have my own house? Do I have my own business? Or am I doing basically like what I'm doing now and just on weekends doing stuff? Like, what does this look like? Is this a retreat center, like a spiritual center? Is this something? Is it a church I'm starting? Like, what is it that I'm meant to do? And I just was throwing a bunch of stuff out there and just then getting quiet. Slowly, especially in 2019, I immediately started feeling like, yeah, California is not my home anymore, but I'm in a committed relationship and we continue the conversation of marriage. How do I reckon with that? How do I ask? Is this guy even open to it? How do I even go there? And what if he's not? Right? And so it's so hard. And then I'm like, well, how the heck do I move? Like, I have a full-time job here in California. I guess I would save up and like move out. So I just started asking all the questions and started kind of basically figuring out the logistics of what would I do and how would I do this. Slowly but surely, I started to really feel Colorado. And it was really funny because my brother actually ended up moving to Colorado. And when he did, I burst into tears because I just felt like I was supposed to go with him, but I couldn't because I was locked down. I had a full-time job here. I had a relationship that I was extremely invested in. And how do I go with him? How do I do that? I can't just up and leave everybody. I didn't want to hurt anybody. And I didn't know still what it was meant to be like. And so because I didn't have the full vision yet and full direction, I stayed back. But I knew like my heart is in Colorado, and then here a part of me headed out, and he's going exactly where I've been feeling like I was called for the past year and a half at that point. So I really started seeking. I really started asking God, the universe source, to really make it really real to me. Here we are, a year later, basically. I've started my life coaching business, which really has turned into intuitive healing and spiritual coaching. And now I have the Soulish podcast, which has been a year as of May since I started and launched the podcast. So we're not even a year yet in that, because that took some time. That took a little bit longer than the life coaching. But here I am. And literally last year, I moved into my San Jose apartment. My boyfriend was helping me move. And basically, he left to go get something else from the truck. And I was left alone in the apartment. And I heard almost audibly, like it was so loud, "This is your last year in California." And I knew then that this was inescapable. This was something that I've been talking privately with the universe about and trying to understand how the heck is this going to happen. And still in the relationship, still in the full-time job, here I am. And a year later, I moved to Colorado. So a few things happened. I kept myself open. And that's one of the things that I really want to drive home, because a lot of times we want to know what to expect and we want to have it all mapped out, because uncertainty and the unknown can feel really risky, especially when it's a life move, right? A huge transition in your life and a new adventure, and it involves then risks. And I just remained open and I trusted that if this is meant to be, I will take the steps forward as they're presented to me. I will follow through. I will not back down. I will not be shy or scared or timid. I will not be overcome by fear or anxiety or even the familiarity of my home in California, of the culture, of the land, of the people, of my family, my parents still being there. I'm not going to cling to what I know and not let go and embrace what I don't know just because it's comfortable. So that was another thing too that I just was really working on. And as being a Cancer sun, that's a little bit hard for me, but I knew that I had to let go. And so I started that process. As soon as I heard God say, this is your last year in California, I just knew this is going to be one hell of a year. Basically, I started getting the sense of everything, including the podcast and doing some sort of life coaching, spiritual coaching business. I kept asking, my boyfriend, would you be open to Colorado? And it was kind of a meh. And my business is here, my family's here, why would I move? And I understood that, I respected that. But that again was now another stopping point because I'm very much in love and also super, super committed. So how do I reckon with that? So I just felt like, okay, well then maybe it's in a couple years, I don't know. Maybe it's not next year, but I heard what I heard and I can't change what I heard to accommodate my current life situation, right? Because that would be lying to myself. But I had a hard time. So I just fine, then just work it out. So ended up breaking up in June. And I knew then, okay, well, that changes things. And I started immediately just thinking about Colorado and how would I get there and what would I do and how would my job allow me to do it. So in December, I recorded an episode with Sarah James Carter, which came out in January, and it was all about the 2021 astrology. Now, Sarah and I hit it off. We talked offline for 3 hours. Besides the recording of the podcast episode, we just became fast friends. We connected on so many levels. One, she's also a Christian, has a Christian background, and we both are launching our own businesses as far as being into the spiritual community, her and her astrology and human design business, me and my spiritual coaching, intuitive healing business. So we definitely collabed and talked a lot about that and what her experience was like. I kind of told her what my past year was like and just how crazy it was. And she had let me know that my Venus, Neptune, and MC lines ran down basically the Midwest. And I was like, and near where? Nearest where? And she's like, well, Denver, Colorado area, it's within 200 miles. And also Albuquerque, New Mexico, and maybe the western part of Texas. And I'm like, I knew it. I knew that the stars and planets were aligning for me to move to Denver, Colorado. And so then we started talking about it. I shared everything with her. And she really was looking at that and all of what that meant and really took the time to explain it to me. And I just really got super pumped up and encouraged that there was more to this than even maybe what I knew. So that again was confirmation, something that I had not really shared with anybody, but I didn't have to in order for her to confirm that the specific energies that are aligning here in Denver for me personally are really specific and really specific around what I feel like my purpose is in this life. So we continued on our friendship and continued on in this discussion, and she really remains a huge encourager and support for me. I also met Carlos, the medium, and that was a really profound offline conversation as well. I mean, come on, he's a medium, right? Gonna be profound at some level. But he really drove home the energy that was around my life right then, which made a lot of sense of why things were ending and closing and coming to completion, because he said, you're in a 9 energy. And I was like, what the hell is a 9 energy? I have no idea what that means. It's like, it's completion, ending, tying things into like a bow, closing doors. And he's like, but it's also welcoming the new and welcoming the future and welcoming whatever's to come into your life. And I was like, oh, so it's like a letting go and embracing the new. And he's like, exactly. I was like, okay. I'll try to do that, Carlos. And he really confirmed a lot for me. And even about my past relationship, and he hit it right on the nail. And I hadn't even really told him anything of that. He also, in the episode, he doesn't know it. Well, he knows it now, because I told him, I DM'd him like, hey, Carlos, did you know this? But he actually called on my guide, one of my guides, Eric, in the episode. And you'll hear it when I say, like, Whitney, it's a beautiful day. And then he had me repeat that. And he said, okay, guys, what do you see? Or what do you want to show me? Or he says something like that. But then he says, Eric. And I didn't catch it until afterwards in re-listening to it. And I was like, holy crap, he was talking to Eric. That's one of my guides that I've had all my life. And so really, really cool and really, really on it. Also, side note, if you ever want or need any kind of closure in the area of mediumship, Carlos is amazing and you should definitely book with him. So, and also on that note, if you ever need an astrology or human design reading, Sarah James Carter is the way to go. The girl knows how to teach you and explain to you everything. She's amazing. So on top of that, I also then met Rita. I'm telling you guys, I met all these guys in this year, and all of them have confirmed majorly this move and this shift. And I didn't really ask for it. I was generally asking for maybe some insight, or are you hearing anything specific for me? Just because I'm open to that. I'm open to other people hearing, but I also have gone to the meditation mat, and I know what I've heard. So it's kind of like, I'm just waiting to hear this from somebody else. And that's more of just like a confirmation for me. Not everyone has to do that in order to make a move or be in that transition, but it's helpful. I think it really boosts your confidence and it makes you feel like you're held throughout the process. And I think that it's also not bad to seek that, because the universe, source, God wants you to go into the transition confident. And there are so many services and modalities that the universe has available to us. Why wouldn't the universe want you to go and invest in that? Because it's going to only help you in the long run, right? You just want to make sure that you're going to somebody that is legit, has a heart for people, is in it for people, not in it for themselves. And that's the only level of discernment that you should use when you're going to seek services outside of yourself to hear, because the last thing you need is also hearing something that isn't true or isn't in alignment with what you've already heard, because that would just create doubt and fear, and that's no bueno, right? So Rita Merchandani, Akashic Records reader, she's also been on the podcast. I met her during that episode, and she rocked my world. She straight up said everything that I needed to hear, and it was even questions that I had privately asked God, and she is a freaking gem. So if you ever need an Akashic Records reading, go ahead and check out our episode and book with her. She's amazing. She also has become a huge, huge support in my life. Dear, dear friend. I have so much love for her, and she is amazing. That's all I can say. And so she has continued to encourage me and give me little nods and nudges according to, what I was seeking out and how this transition would look, and also the work that needed to be done in me throughout this transition. This is what I love about transitions, is it's the time when you get real. It's the time when the rubber meets the road and you have to basically look at yourself and go, what am I going to keep? What am I, taking with me? And what am I dumping? And I actually had to do that in a very physical way on the day of my move because not everything that I had in my apartment would fit in my car. So I had to dump things and I had to choose out of even just my material things what I was going to keep, what would fit, and what was going to have to go. And I had to do that throughout the whole transition, which was basically this entire year. I've taken 3 months of saying, what do I love? What has room in my heart? What has room and space in my soul, my spirit? What do I need to drop and leave here? So I just thanked God, the universe, for the lessons. Everything that I needed to let go of, I did in that final moment. And it felt really good, but it also was really hard. Because I think when you move away, sometimes you can feel like you're running away from your past or just even memories. And I just wanted to move forward and towards something, not away from something. And I think that's really important during transition. When you know that you're moving on to something, take the time to let go. Don't just catapult yourself into the new. Take the time to be present with yourself. How do you feel about it? Are you scared at all? Do you feel like you're taking a risk? Do you feel like you're not ready yet? How do you feel? It's so important to be present and in tune with how you feel, and not just feel soul-wise, but also how you feel energetically, spiritually. How does your spirit feel? How do you feel energetically in your energy body? Is there anything stuck that you're having a hard time moving through? That is a good time and a good moment, a good indicator for you to take the time to connect with that and ask God, the universe, to support you in that and to give you clarity and insight, help you to heal, help you to move forward, help you to move through whatever you need to move through. Just because you're experiencing something coming against you in the transition doesn't mean that it's the wrong path. Doesn't mean that it's the wrong timing. Just continuing on, even if it's a crawl, moving forward, that's the only way to get through it. That's the only way to move forward and move through. And things just worked out in order for me to make this move. I was able to stay with my brother. I've now stayed with him a week, and I'm moving into my apartment here in Denver in just a couple days at this point of the recording. And so I just want to encourage you guys that when you take the steps forward after taking the time of hearing from God's source, the universe, and trusting the guidance that you receive and the confirmations, affirmations that you receive, everything will fall into place. You can completely trust God to do that for you. You can completely trust Source to provide. You can totally trust the universe to give you the infinite wisdom and knowledge and discernment of how to navigate through the transition. So I just want to encourage you guys, if you've ever faced this or if you're facing this now, trust yourself, trust your intuition, trust your guidance system. Trust that God is even going to bring the right people into your life that are going to confirm things for you and support you along your journey. And I know that I am ready for the next relationship as well. And I know that that's also coming because that's also been confirmed and confirmed. And also children, I want a family, and I know that that's coming in my future, and I'm just trusting with the timing. I think that too is maybe a block specifically for me as well. And I'm sure for some of you guys listening that the timing expectation of things, right? Because we can hear from God's source universe, your guides, your angels, you can hear the specific timing. But when you do hear that, you also have to kind of hold loosely and just understand that there's free will happening, and that changes things, but just trusting that it's going to happen in the right timing. And so for me, that's what I'm doing. I'm just holding loosely. I know it's going to happen. I'm welcoming it into my life whenever is the right timing for me and for them and for everybody. To wrap this up, I just want to encourage you guys that as you tune in and as you seek guidance, it'll come. Things will start to pop into alignment. Provision will come. Confirmation will come. Affirmation will come. You'll feel a peace in your heart, in your spirit, in your soul that you just can't ignore. And it doesn't allow anxiety to come in. Sure, you have moments, right? I've even had moments of like, holy shit, what did I just do? But ultimately, you can trust your gut. You can trust what you're sensing, what you're hearing, and what you're receiving from the outside. So trust that. Move forward. Don't be intimidated by the risk. Don't be intimidated by the what ifs or the hows. Just allow it to be and to fall into place, because it will. Because I love A Course in Miracles, and I hung on to this like it was everything to me, like it was my sustenance for this transition. Nothing that is real can be threatened, and nothing that is unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. It's literally like the first page of A Course in Miracles. I have hung on to that nothing that is real can be threatened in my life. So if this is my purpose, then it's my purpose. I don't have to doubt. I don't have to fear. I don't have to, make it happen. I'm just going to be faithful and follow the steps forward. And I know that it's going to come to me as I move forward and as I continue to align my intentions with my purpose and my actions, my words. All of those things come into line, right? But it's not something that you have to grind out. It's going to happen in the right timing. So I just trusted that, and I knew that that was going to be the case, and it was. And then nothing unreal exists. So fear, anxiety, feeling, afraid of what may come, that doesn't exist. And therefore, I have complete and total peace. So I don't have to worry about anything. I know I'm taken care of. And so I just want to encourage you guys with that. When you face transition, you are not alone. And you don't have to feel like you're alone, because you're not alone. You have so much support available to you, and ask for it. If you don't have it in your life, ask for it. It'll come to you. You don't have to worry about anything. You are divinely guided, divinely inspired, and you have a purpose in your life to fulfill, to live out, to enjoy. Don't let anything hold you back. I love you guys. Again, I just want to remind you guys before closing to go ahead and, if you don't already, follow the Soulish Podcast on Instagram. And if you're really interested in up-leveling your spiritual journey, go ahead and sign up for a tier in my Patreon page and just get more support. And it will enhance your journey, I promise you, because I'm putting my heart and soul into it. And it's just another way that you can support me as well. And so I love that beautiful exchange that we can have energetically between us. And it's also a community that you can connect with others like you and get that support that, like I've been given in this year, you get it there. So I love you guys. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope you got a lot out of it. I love you guys dearly. Thank you so much for joining this community. Please rate and review. It'll help the podcast a lot as we're growing and expanding. I love this community and I love you guys. I'll see you guys next time.